Hey everybody, another episode. This will be owning an electric vehicle in New York in the metro area. And what I mean by that is Lower Hudson Valley, downstate, New York City metro area. New York State is a very big state. Contrary to popular belief, there's a lot more New York State than there is New York City. My research and my knowledge is limited to that area. I don't know anything about the electric availability in West Bubblefuck County, New York, okay? If you ever drove to, what's that dam? I'm terrible. If you ever drove up to the, oh my God, what is that called? Brain fart. Anyway, you ever drove up there to Buffalo and them? The people look totally different, okay? There's cornfields. You feel like you're in a whole nother world. You could literally drive 12 hours and still be in New York State, okay? It is big. So my knowledge on this electric vehicle and the infrastructure is limited to the Lower Hudson Valley, okay? So I'm going to start by defining the types of electric vehicles, and I'm going to talk about the two types of electric vehicles that I own, because I own two different types. So you have hybrid. Hybrid is when there is a bigger battery. This is not the battery that is used to start your car. This is not the 12 volt. This is another battery that is used to supplement the engine in the car, right? So the car has an engine and another smaller battery that is charged while you are driving, right? So when you're using gas to drive the car, the wheel turning acts like a alternator, generator, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a scientist, but it also charges the other battery, which then supplements with the it is like 58 degrees out here and shit has bloomed and my allergies are acting up. It's January, guys. This is crazy, right? So I'm already a little like allergy right now. So anyway, so your hybrid takes gas. There's no charging, external charging involved. You just fill it up, and the car and the battery and the engine, they work together to give you really good gas mileage, right? Then you have PHEVs. A PHEV is a plug-in electric vehicle. This is also a hybrid vehicle, but you can plug it in to charge the battery. So it has another battery which is bigger than the hybrid battery that can be charged, right? So for example, I own a Kia Sorento PHEV, plug-in hybrid, which means in great optimal driving conditions, that car can drive 32 miles on just electric alone without even using gas. So straight electric. If I charge that sucker and drive under 32 miles, charge it by plugging it in, I don't have to use gas. However, if I use any of the HVAC systems in a plug-in hybrid, I think just the heat, I think the AC can be electric, but that will drain it very fast. But if I need to use heat, just like in a traditional car, the heat is drawn from the engine and the engine motor will kick on using gas. Now it will stay in hybrid mode where it's also using that battery that can be charged externally to supplement the gas mileage, but I'm using gas if I use the heat. So that's a PHEV. Then you have full on battery electric vehicle. So I own a Ford Mustang Mach-E. If you don't like the Mustang name, I didn't make it. I know there's some purists out there who refuse to call it a Mustang, because it is a crossover and it is not true to the Mustang legacy, so they call it a Mach-E. My husband owned a Mustang. He refuses to call this car a Mustang. He calls it a Mach-E. But as much as he wants to hate it, he can't. He loves it. He loves it. But this is my car. He drives the Kia. So I'll get back to it. So my car is 100% electric, and it gets its energy externally. There's no engine. Okay, I have a motor which is powered by the battery, which turns the wheels, but there is no combustible engine whatsoever. Right? So think of it as your RC race car. That's this. I have to charge it by plugging it in to keep it running. I do have a 12-volt battery like a regular car, but that is used to start the car and run things like the fan when the car is turned off, right? But no gas, no engine, just a motor, which is different from an engine, that makes the wheels go round and round. Okay? So that is a quick definition tutorial on the type of electric vehicle. So like I said before, I own a PHEV, which is a plug-in hybrid. It takes gas and it can be plugged in to charge. And I own a fully electric vehicle, no gas. All right? So back to our New York governor. Governor Hochul enacted a no more excuses crusade to get New York State zero emission, fully zero emissions, or as much as possible by 2035. Now I'm going to do some research, and this research is what I used. You know, I did hours and weeks. No, I'm lying. Months of research before I purchased a fully electric or even a plug-in hybrid. Okay, we were fully gas up until like July of 2022. We were a fully gas family. So we did months of research before we made our purchases. So what I'm going to discuss is some of the major points that made us comfortable with the crossover to electric and fully plug-in hybrid and fully electric, right? So I live in New York State, and the governor has fully supported New York State becoming a zero emission state by 2035, kind of following in the footsteps of California, and then there's 18 other states that are following in the footsteps of California and New York State to really push for electric vehicles, right? And here's something interesting. New York State was pushing to have their vehicles electric even 100 years ago. So I think it's called the Buffalo Electric Company, Electric Carriage Company in 1900. And they were really starting with electric vehicles, and Big Oil crushed them less than 20 years later. You know, the oil companies came and totally demolished the electric car company. If you did your research on Nikola Tesla, it was Big Oil that pretty much destroyed him, and why we use AC and not DC current. But we are coming back to DC current, and I'll talk about that when I talk about ultra fast electric charging. Okay, so how is our governor, New York Governor Hochul, what is she doing to push this initiative for New York State to be zero emissions? Well, by 2035, she wants all new cars sold in New York State to be zero emissions. No more gas combustion cars. There are grants on purchasing electric vehicles. There's there's state incentive rebates, including the federal tax rebate for purchasing a new electric car. I'll talk about that later. Besides what the state governor is doing, New York State, there's also federal infrastructure going on and increasing public access to charging stations on interstate highways. Now, Tesla, the company Tesla, started their interstate fast charging network years before New York State. And I will talk about how that is a benefit to Tesla owners only. The New York governor also says that the initiative to go zero emission is also going to create over 158,000 jobs, and not just jobs. She's talking well-paying jobs, and I like that. I think if you're going to push something for taxpayers to pay for, you have to have a win with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the win is creating jobs, right? Because we're not here for free. We're here to make money, right? And good paying jobs. I don't want just jobs. When they talk about, yeah, there's jobs out there, I'm not talking about working retail or customer service. I'm talking about career jobs. And that's what she's saying. There's going to be training involved because this infrastructure has to be maintained, built, just opportunities for growth as we release our dominance on fossil fuels and gasoline. So, back to charging. So currently, there are 3 levels of charging, right? And here's my disclaimer. I am American. I have no idea what they do overseas. And I'm talking about New York and what's available to me. So level 1, that's your 110 voltage. That is your home charging, right? That is what you plug your cell phone in. Now, if you live in a house or you have an electric stove, you have access to high voltage, 220. Your dryer, like I said, your electric stove, that is level 2. Level 2 is also your public charging stations. So if you live in New York City and you've been driving around and you see these poles with FLO on them, that's level 2 charging. Or if you've been somewhere and you've seen a charge point station, that's level 2. So back to level 1. I'm going to use my car for example. My husband's plug-in hybrid from empty to full. Now he has a way smaller battery than I do, right? For him to get 32 miles, and his battery is slow charging compared to mine, takes about 10 to 12 hours on level 1. That's plugging it into a regular home outlet, right? Level 2 for him is 4 hours. For me, 0 to full, 10 days on level 1. 10 days, right? No, is it 10 days? 4 days. I'm sorry. I'm getting my hours and my days mixed up. Level 1 for my car, 4 days. Level 2, 9 to 10 hours. So you get how fast it is? Now we get to level 3. Level 3 is fast and ultra fast charging. My husband's car does not have level 3 charging capabilities. He is limited to level 1 and level 2. But my car has DC capability. And from 20 to 80%, 30 to 45 minutes. So, you know, there's your difference. I can get 100 miles in 30 minutes, where 100 miles might take me 9 hours on level 2, 3 days on level 1. So that's just a point of reference. It gets more in depth. There's different types of batteries that your car has that is faster or slower, but that's just too much. I'm just giving you just what I know, right? So level 1 for my car, fully electric, 3 to 4 days. Level 2, 9 to 10 hours. DC charging, 30 to 45 minutes. Okay? So, I own, like I said, a plug-in hybrid and a fully electric And I've had my plug-in hybrid for 9 months, and I've had my fully electric 4 months, right? I did extensive research. Like I said, I surveyed my where my husband works, where I work. I surveyed where my husband works, where I work, access to charging. I also own a home that has outdoor outlets. And that was very important because I am able to charge my car at home. Now, there are options to get an electrician in and run a charging level 2 in my house that would piggyback off of the circuit I have for my home dryer, but I did not feel the need to do that, and I'll explain why. So I live and work near a government funding level 2 charging station that is free. Thanks to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Act, there are multiple free level 2 charging all over New York State. Now, like I said, I am limited to the lower Hudson Valley, and I know walking distance away from my house, there's a free one, and there's one near my job. There's also a free one near my husband's job. Now, it is walking distance. However, it's not very convenient walking. So what we did was I purchased him an electric scooter that he keeps in his car. So he plugs his car in and scooters back to the office, where he plugs the scooter into charge for free. So I'm all about the free, right? And then when I charge my car near my house, I usually should walk to get my exercise, as I said in other videos. But when I'm too tired or it's too late, my husband will scooter over and pick it up. Now, I am not very balanced, so I have not really gained my confidence enough to scooter myself to go get it. Maybe once I lose more weight, I'll feel more confident, but right now that's an option. We can walk and get it. I'm very good at planning. So like if we do an outing, I'll plug my car in, have my husband follow me. I'll plug my car in. We'll do our outing. And then when we're finished, he'll drop me off to go pick it up. It really hasn't been a nuisance at all. It just takes some extra organization. And all right, I got to my destination so I could do the video better. Oh, I hate when this happens. It gets stuck on things. Okay. So, like I said, it just takes some organization because, I do everything in my power not to walk. And I should. It's so bad. But anyway, the other day we took our kids to the museum. His car takes at least 4 hours. So we plugged it in. We went to the museum. We came back. We picked it up. And then my car was low. So we switched cars. My car was charging. We took his home and then my husband's scooter to get it at 10 o'clock at night. Now, this is free. The charging station that we use is free. There is an app. So even though it's a government-funded program, they do use third-party companies to facilitate and maintenance it, which is great because there's an app. So before we take the ride over there, I can see if the stations are in use. If they're in use, I'm not going to go, which saves the trip, which is great. And then there's a notification that, okay, when one of the cars are done, it will let me know when it's free and then I can go over. So it's great. And then you kind of know the people and the cars that use it, and you kind of know their schedule. Like there is a smart car, electric car, that is there every day between this block of time. And I know why they're there every day, because the maximum range on that car is 70 miles. And I'm going to tell you why they need to charge that car every day. And then there's a Tesla that's there on Sundays that gets there around 8 o'clock in the morning and is there pretty much all day because it probably has an extended battery. And that car is only there once a week. So you kind of know where you can fit in and you learn and you adapt. But like I said, it's free, and that's not my only option. There are times when my husband just doesn't feel like it, and he will plug in the car in our house, right? And he's from empty to a full charge in the morning. I can do the same thing, but my car's range, I don't have the extended battery, and I'm okay with that. So my maximum range is about 200 miles per charge, and that's changed. That is in driving optimal conditions. Now, if I use the HVAC system, especially the heat, it sucks it dry. So I'm okay with using the heat because I don't pay for the electricity. Now, if I paid for the electricity or the DC charging, I might care. But like I said, I charge for free, so I don't care. I run that heat to maximum and I just charge it for free. So running the heat and everything, going back and forth to work and picking up my kids, I have to do it once a week. A full charge, I'm talking about 9-10 hours once a week. Now, I don't do that because there's something called range anxiety, and I don't like to have that. And range anxiety is when you're constantly looking at the battery and constantly looking at the miles because you don't want to get stranded. You don't want to get stuck. There's no range anxiety when you have a gas car because there's a gas station, especially if you live in this area, there's a gas station every mile. Where I work, there is a gas station on every single corner. 1, 2, 3. 4. No, 3. 1, 2, 3. So there's no like gas anxiety. There's range anxiety when you own an electric car. So I do not, personal preference, let my car fall below 40% charge. If my car is below 40% charge and I can't dedicate hours to charge it, I will then go and pay for rapid charging DC, which is not free. And I rarely use it. One, because it increases your battery degradation, which is it'll wear your battery down faster. Now, in all honesty, I have not kept a car more than 4 or 5 years. I am constantly swapping out my cars because I love cars and I like the new shiny hotness. Am I going to keep this car long enough to know the effects of battery degradation? Probably not. It has it has a very good battery warranty, 100,000 miles. I doubt I will have this car that long, but it's something I'm cognizant about. And DC is not free. So it's really no incentive for me to use DC. So, for example, going from 20 to 80%, it's for certain companies like Electrify America and EV Go, it's 30 cents a minute plus tax or 45 cents per kilowatt plus tax. So roughly, if I'm at 20%, I need to get to 80%. About 100 miles will cost me between $15 and $18. Not me. If I had to do that once a week, that's about $80 a month, which is only a fraction of what I was paying for gas with my Dodge Journey. Maybe, and my Hyundai Accent, I was doing about $120, $140 a month in gas. Is that right? 30, 60, 90, 120. So about $30 a week. If I'm doing 80, to me, there's no benefit of having an electric car. Like the cost, I'm sorry. There are benefits to having an electric car. However, I did not get a cheap electric car. My Mustang Mach-E is used and even used high 50s. And it's not even a GT. You're talking used GT was like 60, 70,000. And I offset the cost of the car based on my gas, the pay I was using for gas. So the $120 or $150 that I was gonna pay for gas, I justified that and tacked that onto a car payment, right? So if my budget for a car was $500, I made it $650 because I'm not paying for gas and I'm not paying for electricity because I have easy access to free level 2 charging. And honestly, since I've had the car since October, I've maybe DC charged 4 times. That's it. And one time I DC charged, and it's not from 20 to 80%. It's maybe $5, $6. I primarily use that free charging station. My second mode is plugging it in at the house. But 99% of my charging is done from the free charging station, right? So like I said, my justification for becoming less gas dependent is my easy accessibility to charge at my home. I could very well plug in my car every day and be fine in my house, but it's not free. It'll cost me money. And electricity per se is not expensive, but if you live in my area, the delivery charges for electricity is ridiculous, right? That you have to increase the cost on too. When people say, oh, but electricity is not that expensive, that gas, tack on those delivery fees, right? So I have three ways. My husband has access to free charging. I have access to free charging at my home, and I have access to free charging near my job. What else? Okay. So my husband's car is a plug-in hybrid. It has a combustible engine, therefore he has to get oil changes and all of that stuff that is needed to maintain a gas operating engine. When you have fully electric, nothing. I went for a 30,000 mile checkup, and she said, well, we don't separate electric vehicles from gas vehicles, so whatever we don't do, we'll just subtract it from the cost. The initial cost was $750, is what's the work that was recommended if my car was a combustible engine car. And when I was done, it was $100 to rotate my tires and give me a cabin air filter, a very overpriced cabin air filter. That was it. That is all the work that they did on my car. They did the check. They checked the engine. They checked the fluids. Now we do have fluids. We have coolant, windshield washer fluid, and some other miscellaneous fluids, brake fluid, obviously. But, there's no oil or nothing like that. And so my 30,000 mile checkup was to rotate my tires and to give me a cabin air filter. There's no engine air filter either. There's no engine. And to lube up some stuff, but the lubing up was free. That was included with rotating my tires, lubing up some whatever. That's what they said they did. Okay? Now, transparency, good, bad, or ugly. This car is over 5,000 pounds. If you know anything about cars, that is heavy for a crossover car. My husband's Montero was 5,000 pounds. This car is 5,000 pounds. Do you know what happens when you have a car that's 5,000 pounds? Carrying a heavy-ass battery? Your tires wear faster. So take that into consideration. If you're looking into an electric car, you have to change you have to buy new tires more often. They recommend 30,000 miles. So I bought this car new. The deal I bought it from, transparency, I bought it from Carvana. They changed all 4 tires. So I got brand new tires on this car when I bought it. So when I did the 30,000 mile checkup, yes, new tires would have been recommended, but I already had new tires. What else? Oh, I talked about range anxiety. So I have access to other vehicles. This is not, my fully electric car is not my only vehicle. I have access to my husband's gas operating and battery operating car. And I have my mother's car. If I need to borrow my mother's car, I can take my mother's car. She has a gas car. Think about that too. I personally, if you have children, I would not recommend a fully electric car at this time because the infrastructure is not conducive enough for me to be comfortable having a fully electric car with children. Now, if I was a single woman and my car died, I could just hop on a train and go home. But that's hard to do in the wintertime with children. If you have access to another vehicle and you have children, then you can go electric. If you have the accessibility to charge. Now, if you live in New York City, there are corner charging. It's called Flow. Again, it's not free, but it is very cheap if you do it overnight off peak hours. I'll talk about Flow and the other charging companies shortly. Also, utilize the technology. So my Mustang is a damn near a smartphone. If I was to take a road trip, I haven't so this is what it looks like. I have this big ass tablet here. My car is off right now, but I have this big ass tablet. You see? Big brother is always watching. And you could only see that in the camera. You can't see it without the camera. So I have this big ass tablet, and it has apps. And one of my apps is if I wanted to take a road trip to Florida, I type in where I want to go. It maps out everything. When I need to stop, when I need to charge, how long it will take. So I'm on a road trip. It will tell me you have to go to this charging station and charge for 30 minutes, 20 minutes. It will map it out. It will also tell me the additional time that I would have charging. You know what I'm saying? It will tack on to Florida. Let's say it's regular 12 hours. I'll tack on another 4 hours for charging. Like that. So I have yet to take a road trip in this car, but I have that option, right? So DC charging. I said before that DC charging is recommended. High voltage fast charging is recommended only between 20 and 80% in your car. So if you're below 20%, they don't recommend that you fast charge. Regular charge, level 1 or level 2 to 20%. And then if you're at 80%, regular level 1 or level 2 charge until you get to 100%, not fast charging. Here's the reasons why. This is what I learned. DC charging makes your battery very, 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 very hot. Therefore, the car is smart enough to know to slow down the charging. And DC charging is not free. So potentially it will, even though you're at a DC charging station, if you're not within that 20 or 80%, it will treat it like a level 2. And it take longer and you're paying for that. Right? Makes sense. So that's why it's only recommended to charge fast charge DC between 20 and 80%. Now, I have a green Easy Pass. Let me see if I can show this without. You see this green Easy Pass right there? Okay. I have a green Easy Pass because I have a green vehicle. We also have it on the Kia. We get discounts on tolls. We also can ride in the HOV lanes alone. So there are some benefits. Are you looking to buy? My recommendations. If you don't have the easy access I have to charging, I would not buy a car with mileage less than 250 on a charge. I would get 300 and higher if you could not easily charge and you had to charge once a week. So, for example, full charge, my car is 212 miles. When I'm using that heat every day, they say it's 70%. I think it's 60%. I'm only getting 60% of 212 miles if I run that heat between my whole going to work, picking up my kids, coming home kind of thing. The smart car I was talking about, the model they have was 75 miles range. She has to charge that shit every day. Now, I know they knew that because they have another car that drops them off, and they also utilize the free charge. And when I spoke to her, she bought it used. I think she paid $5,000. And her job is not that far away. So for them, it's okay to use. So think about it. It's a smart car, right? It was her commuter car. She only works a few miles away, and she's okay with dropping it off and charging, right? If you don't own a house and you don't have access to level 1, and you don't want to run an extension cord from your apartment because that's Trey Ghetto, there are something called Flow. Flow is a company that worked with Con Ed to make corner charging. So if you see a pole and it says EV charging here, they're all over the city and they're putting up more and more all the time. But like I said, they're not free. However, their off-peak charging is very, very cheap. It makes it worth it. If you're buying a new EV, there is a $7,500 tax credit. You put that on your taxes, $7,500. Now, depending on your tax, I'm not a tax accountant, depending on your tax and your bracket, you might not get that. But for us regular schmegular degular people, $7,500 in your pocket. Now these car dealerships, they know that. I paid a lot of money for that brand new Kia Sorento plug-in hybrid. It was not a deal. I did not get a discount. I did not get a deal. My haggling was bleh. There wasn't a lot of them. They were hard to find. I wanted one, but that $7,500 tax credit and being able to charge for free, to me, justified the cost of the car. Be mindful though, it was only for a certain amount of cars, the federal tax credit. So Tesla, no more. GM cars, no more. And I think Toyota recently, no more tax credit. But Kia, Hyundai, Nissan is almost there, if not there, because of their Nissan Leafs. But Ford, lots of credits. Like I said, Kia, Hyundai, lots of credits. Do your research, ask questions, use me. I'm wealth of information. This video be 4 hours if I really want to talk. It's going on 36 minutes. If I really wanted to talk, it'd be 4 hours. But nobody's watching that. If you have questions, write it in the comments. I would love to share what I know with you guys. Okay? Email me. I do recommend an EV now, later, whenever, based on the circumstances. The infrastructure is not fully there yet, but it is getting there, and we naturally as a country have to relieve ourselves of using fossil fuels. We're only going in the direction of wind energy and electric energy, and if you like it or not, we are going to be electric dominant soon. Tesla, I'm not a fan, but Tesla has a very good, extensive DC network all over the country. And unfortunately, it is limited to only Tesla vehicles. Every other American electric car is CCS, is the type of plug. Tesla has its own plug, and then there's CHAdeMO. CHAdeMO is like Nissan's. CCSs cannot use Tesla DC yet, even though there are talks with the government and Tesla to open it up to us non-Tesla users. But it's not the vice versa. Teslas can use any charging that they want to. They just have to buy an adapter. And the adapters are less than $100. And most of the new cars come with an adapter. So I've been driving, like I used to do road trips, and you see tons of DC charging stations for Teslas that are empty because we can't use it. So I'm glad that the government is talking with Tesla. You know they're going to have to give them some money. Give them some money. It's already there, and allow Tesla to open it up for non-Tesla car users. So the companies I use is Electrified America for DC charging, EVgo for DC charging, and ChargePoint for level 2. ChargePoints are the ones I was talking about, the free ones, and the Electrified America and EVgo are DC. Now there are some perks. If you buy a new Ford, you get like a lot of kilowatts of free high-speed charging from is it EVgo or Electrified America? Either one. The person that owned this car wiped it out. Fun fact, if you buy a new Ford, a used Ford, call up one of these companies, give them your VIN number, and see if there's any time left. Because the person might not have used it or knew about it or used all of it. You could use it. It's transferable. It stays with the car, not with the owner. But the person that had this car used all of it. Actually, when I got the charger that comes with the car, it was never used. They never used it. My review on the Kia Sorento plug-in hybrid, it is 4-cylinder. It doesn't have good pickup. It's instant torque when it uses the battery, so it's decent driving. But when it goes to the gas engine, it feels like a 4-cylinder. However, that is our family vehicle that transports our children. He don't need no fast car. Now for me, I have the Mustang, instant torque. I have a need for speed. Pedal to the metal, baby. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. I'm so glad I didn't get the GT model, which is even faster, because scary, right? Too fast. Not for me. But I'm happy with this. It is instant torque. It has great pickup on, pickup on the highway. It's instant power to the wheels. I have no problem merging on and off the highway. Now, I did find I don't know the authenticity of this article, but I did find an article saying that now, because of delivery costs and stuff, that per 100 miles, gas is cheaper. But like I said, doesn't matter. I have access to free. My miles are predominantly free. And Con Ed does have special pricing. If you own a home and you own an electric vehicle, they will give you special pricing for charging your vehicle. However, Big Brother is watching. You have to install a device, and I don't want to do that. Con Ed is always telling me on my energy reports that I use more energy than my neighbors. I don't give a fuck, but I don't want a device attached to my house for Con Ed to monitor, so I don't take advantage of that. Also, I don't really charge at home. I take advantage of the free. Anyway, please, 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 please give me questions. I think I'm an expert in this. Let me know how you feel. Were you thinking about an electric car? We could talk about cost. There's Chevy Bolts. You don't get the credit. Chevy knows there's no more credit because Chevy is GM. They have drastically reduced the price of their Bolts. And there was some drama with the Bolts batteries, but those are fixed now. Like I said, I could talk about this for 4 hours. I'm not going to hold you guys. Let me know, and I'll probably do a follow-up if this is popular. Okay, bye guys.